The ancient Egyptian civilization can only be defined as a twilight zone where the mind and soul are trapped in heavenly wonders. Like, we have no idea why the Attrition Book was wrapped around a mummy in Egypt. Nobody knows what an Egyptian statue was doing in Israel. Today we try to solve these filthy mysteries of ancient Egypt. In 2015, archaeologists stumbled upon the tomb of a woman who was buried among the Great Pyramids of the Old Kingdom of Egypt. In her tomb were inscriptions calling her both the wife of the king and the mother of the king. 4,500 years ago, when this woman was alive, she would have been one of the most important people on the planet. She would have had greater power than any other woman in the nation, and nobody has any idea who she is. Historians have dubbed her Kentikawis III, assuming that she was Queen Kentikawis II's daughter. They believe she may have been the wife of Pharaoh Neferfri and the mother of Pharaoh Mekher, but they don't really know. They're just guessing. If her name was Kentikawis III, then there is no references to her whatsoever in anything we've ever found. Whoever she was once an incredibly powerful woman, but today she is little more than an enigma. In 1848, a man bought an ancient Egyptian mummy from a shopkeeper in Alexandria. For years, he put it on display as a decoration, not realizing how strange of an artifact he'd found. After peeling off her bandages a few decades later, scientists found something very unusual. The mummy had been wrapped in the linen pages of a book, and it wasn't even written in Egyptian. It took years of investigation to figure out what language it was, but today, we know that it was written in Etruscan, the language of an ancient civilization that once lived in modern-day Italy. It's a language we know little about. The words wrapped around this mummy make up the longest Etruscan text we've ever found. There are still a lot of questions left unanswered, though. For one thing, we still don't know what the text says. We can only understand a few words, which seem to be dates and the name of gods, and beyond that, we can only speculate as to what it means or why anyone would wrap it around a dead body. Above all, we have no idea why the Attrition Book was wrapped around a mummy in Egypt. Was she Etruscan? If so, what was she doing in Egypt? And what did she put in her final message to the world? On the wall of a temple in Dendera, Egypt, there is a massive relief showing a very strange image. It shows, according to the usual interpretation, a snake in a big ball of fire flying out of a lotus flower while being held up by a pillar with human arms. It's a weird picture, but not just because the pillar has arms. It just happens to look exactly like a model of a Crookes tube, a type of an early light bulb invented in the 19th century. In fact, it looks so much like a light bulb that some people think it might just be a diagram showing how to make one. The room that shows the Dendera light is the only room in the whole time that didn't have fire-burning lamps. Archaeologists have found residue that shows Egyptian burned lamps in every other part of the building, except for this one. So, if they didn't have an early version of a light bulb stored in here, how did they see anything? And if the room was pitch black, why did they bother putting such an intricate image on the wall? In 2013 in Tel Azor, Israel, archaeologists found something they never expected to find so far away from Egypt, a 4,000-year-old Egyptian sphinx. Specifically, they found the paws of a statue resting on a base. The rest of it, it's believed, was deliberately destroyed thousands of years ago. Before somebody toppled it over, though, it would have been 3.3 feet tall and weighed half a ton. Nobody knows what an Egyptian statue was doing in Israel. The only clue left behind is an inscription on the base that bears the name King Mycerinus, the name of the pharaoh who ruled over Egypt around 2500 BC. it's highly unlikely that Tel Azor was conquered by the Egyptians. We hope you enjoyed another episode of History Bazaar. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the fastest growing history channel on YouTube.